coming. It's so nice to meet you.
Hi, Danielle.
I'm going to go ahead and just start with our consent form. If you aren't familiar, really, it's just a way for you to just understand the counseling session as a whole, what you're supposed to expect of me, and what your rights are, of course, as the client. So at any time, you're allowed to withdraw from my session. If you have any questions, you're more than welcome to ask me. Typically with my consent form, I like to keep it very surface level. I would hate for it to consume so much of our time, but I do want to make sure that you completely understand it. I do not want you to feel like you're in the dark about any of it. I want to make sure that you feel protected, and I want to make sure that you feel comfortable. So I'll have you just briefly read it. If you have any questions, please ask me, and then I'll take your signature at the bottom. And from here on out, we won't have to do that again. I'll keep it on file, and you'll also get a copy as well.
Can I do that after the session? Because I kind of want to get started.
I completely understand, and I'm glad that you're eager to get started with me because I am as well. Ethically and legally, to protect the both of us, we want to make sure that we both fully understand the consent form, especially with this being your initial session. It's just my responsibility as your counselor to make sure that you are fully equipped in every aspect. So as long as we can just briefly read over it, if you don't have any questions, then we are more than welcome to get started. But we do have to make sure that we at least look over it first and get your signature.
Okay.
Thank you so much. So do you have any questions about the consent form or?
No.
Okay,
I,
great.
it's pretty self-explanatory.
Okay, wonderful. Well, I would love to get to know more about you. So what brings you in today?
Well, at work, I am a janitor and I was on floor equipment, which you actually write on, and I literally passed out. And I couldn't understand why I passed out. So my doctor sent me to a neurologist and we were talking, and I have horrible panic attacks, really bad panic attacks. I mean, my anxiety just goes right out the roof. And so the neurologist suggested that maybe I should see a therapist and kind of talk about my issues.
Well, I'm glad you came to me. I'm so sorry that you're experiencing that. I'm sure it's extremely overwhelming. Do you know when you notice this initial the panic attacks or your anxiety, do you notice when it started?
No, it just like boom happens. And then when I wake up, I don't even know where I'm at or what happened or what day it is or anything.
Do you think you can recall anything specific that maybe would onset your anxiety? Maybe is it anything at work that's maybe causing too much stress, physical stress on you?
I think certain people trigger me because my dad was a very harsh discipline when we were children. And I think certain professors, when I'm, going up and down the floor and they say something to me, kind of triggers me.
That's completely understandable. It could maybe be just maybe you're getting snippets of your past. It could be maybe you are getting triggered from things that maybe emotionally you went through in your childhood that maybe is now carrying over possibly into your adulthood. Do you think that's maybe part of it?
Yeah, I definitely think I have childhood trauma. And sometimes when I'm by myself, I start having these racing thoughts like memories. And then certain people, familiar looks of my dad, and all that kind of stuff. And I think that has a lot to do with it because being a janitor at a university, the professors really don't see you on their level. So if I'm like got that machine going past their office, they usually sit at their desk and yell at me, "Can you do that later? Can you shut that off?" And that kind of upsets me. It kind of gets me triggered because I have a time frame to get the work done.
Of course. Yeah, you're just trying to do the right thing and it seems like you're getting shut down no matter how you do it. If you don't mind me asking, what's your relationship now right now with your father?
Well, my father passed away when he was young because we had a younger brother that was 17 and was killed in a car accident, and that really had an impact on my father. So he was like in his 50s when he passed away.
I'm so sorry to hear that. I didn't even think to ask that. I do apologize for your loss. I'm so sorry. Do you feel that maybe there's some unconnected since maybe you didn't get closure? With your father, you say that you clearly have some sort of trauma as your childhood from your father. Do you think that maybe a lot of this stems from not being able to get closure?
Yeah, definitely didn't get closure. There was nothing ever discussed about my feelings or emotions when I was growing up, and there was no bonding between me and my father. So there was nothing settled. So a lot of unsettled issues, of course. Yeah, I believe that.
Yeah, to me it sounds like, of course, you're going through a lot all at once. You're trying to now process these sudden panic and anxiety attacks that you're having. You're sounds like you are losing a lot of your where it even is coming from, where it's happening. It's hard to pinpoint where it's happening, which I'm sure is frustrating. And now too, there's the your father not being here, of course, to find the closure that you potentially could be looking for. So it seems like you're going through a lot all at once.
Yeah, I feel like I have a lot that I have to let go, and talking to somebody helps a lot, especially somebody that understands, what I'm going through. I can't share much with my siblings because they went through the same thing.
Nope,
So,
I completely understand that. Is your relationship with your siblings, are you, it seems maybe you guys not as close as you would like to be?
yeah, none of us are close. We're all pretty distant. I mean, we all went through the same growing up, in the same household. So, yeah, we're pretty distant. And if I try to talk to my mother about it, she gets defensive because she said my dad was a good father and a great husband. So she gets really defensive. So I probably held a lot of this in for years.
Seems like there's a lot of things that we have to work through, and of course, I'm here to help you. I'm here to listen to you, and I'm here to help you navigate this in whichever way you'd like to. I think it would be best to, of course, start with one step at a time. Especially since you first mentioned your anxiety and those panic attacks, which are having a physical effect on you. You would hate for that to affect your job, and so I think that maybe that's a good place for us to start. Maybe pinpoint your anxiety, these panic attacks, and then maybe go from there and work on everything else that you would like to work through. But I think it's super important that we take it slow so that we can fully work through one thing at a time.
That sounds like a plan with me. Sounds like a good goal. I'm all for that. Start slow and from the beginning.
Well, wonderful. It's always good to have a positive attitude. I know things like this and coming to therapy sometimes it can be anxiety filling as well. I know it's a big step to take. So I appreciate you being here and I'm excited for what's to come for you. And is there any questions that I can ask you before we end here today?
No, I just think, Danielle, you probably have a good plan for me. My goal is that start talking from the beginning, take this slow, and because I have a lot to say. So I think you're right. We can do it that way.
We'll work together and you have a lot to say and I have the ears to listen to you. So I will be here for you and we will take it one step at a time.
Thank you.
You're
Thank you.
welcome.
Glad I met you. Thank
I'm
you.
glad you.
So I thought you guys did a great job. Destina, you were a really good client. Like I was like, dang, I wonder if this is a true story. Like you did a really good job. I was like, oh my gosh, like this
All
is
kinds of craziness.
yeah, but off the top, you did a good job. Danielle, I like how you were like validating her feelings because she seemed like she was like anxiety is a lot to deal with. So like validating that her feelings are real and like she has the space to feel that way openly. I think that's going to help long term in the counseling relationship. I think the only thing that I would have done differently is maybe when I was ending the session, instead of like telling her what direction we were going to go in, maybe asking her what direction she wants to go in and where
That's
she wants to start. And then maybe after getting her response, then I would have been like, okay, well, this is what we can do. But just, allowing her to have control of her own care in a little bit by doing that. But I thought you guys did great.
that I agree. That is one thing I need to work on with that too. But you did, Dustin, you did do a good job. I really felt like that was something that you were going through.
Yeah, I thought it was totally real. I was like, this is
Yeah.
actually probably something that has happened in her life before. So maybe you should go into acting next. I don't know, but you did a great job. You did a great job. Okay,
Okay.
so if you guys want to switch, I will be the counselor. You'll be the observer. Danielle, you will be the client.
Okay.
All right. Well, hi, Danielle. My name is Carmen. I'm so glad that you came in to see me today. How are you doing?
Hi, Carmen. I'm good. I'm nervous, but I'm glad to be here.
I'm glad to have you here. So before we start getting into any questions or anything, I kind of want to briefly go over what we call informed consents. This just allows you the information you need to know before we start. So it just talks about if there's something said, something like you're going to hurt yourself or you're going to hurt someone else. These are things that I have to release. Just want to make sure that we're keeping you safe at all time. There's some things about who I can release information to, who I cannot release information to, insurance information, payment information, and just things like that in those informed consents. So you have those on your clipboard in front of you that I prepared for you. So if you want to take a look at those, we have to get those signed before you start any type of session. So do you have any questions on those informed consents?
I think that I just have one question on
Okay.
consent. Will I be, if we at any point are in a situation where you do have to let somebody else know about a situation or circumstance that we're in, will I be made aware of that before you are having to go and tell somebody about those things or maybe break the confidentiality? Will I be aware of that first too?
I always like to keep my clients in the loop, so I would definitely keep you in the loop of that if there was some situation where I needed to break that confidentiality and tell someone for your safety or the safety of someone else.
Okay, thank you for clarifying.
Oh, no problem. So I'd like to just learn a little bit about yourself. Like I said, my name is Carmen. I've been doing counseling for a few years now, so you know a little bit about me. Tell me kind of what brought you here. Were you referred? Is this something that you wanted to seek out on your own? Just give me some background information.
It is something I wanted to seek out on my own. It took me some time. I'm struggling with it's postpartum, I think, anxiety and depression. So it's a lump sum of both of them. I have a 1-year-old daughter, and ever since she was born, even when I was pregnant, I struggled with anxiety in general. Anxiety about life, anxiety about just everyday circumstances, just like feeling as though I have lack of control with things within my life. And so, of course, becoming pregnant was a big thing on trying to minimize my anxiety, be as less stressed as possible, trying to stay healthy with my pregnancy. And then after I had my daughter, my postpartum just was out of control. And so I'm just struggling with how to navigate that. I'm struggling with just the obsessive thoughts and just really, of course, I'm trying to be the best mother I am, but I think that this really hinders it because your mental health is a huge thing, especially when you're trying to take care of somebody else. So
I first want to commend you for, just realizing that and coming into therapy on your own. I know it takes a lot to get to that point. So that is definitely a strength that you have going forward. It's just that you are self-aware and you realize when you're not, might not be feeling the best and you've taken that extra step to come in and get help. So you mentioned that you've had some anxiety before you even had your daughter. Can you tell me about when you think that started or when you started noticing symptoms of anxiety in your life?
I think it really became prevalent in high school. My mother is an alcoholic and a chronic smoker, and she has been since before I can remember what that was. And so that's something I've always struggled with. And I don't think it was truly until I got into college that I realized that I think that's had an impact on me, my development, just in general, how I handle things in life. And so I think that that's where it started. But then my father is, I wouldn't say that he is abusive, but just mentally and emotionally isn't very supportive. We didn't have a very good father-daughter relationship. It wasn't very loving. So I think that I searched out that longing for love in relationships with other men. And so I think that really caused a lot of anxiety with bad choices, bad decisions, and just pulling myself away from people that loved me. So I think that that's really a big time where my anxiety skyrocketed.
And tell me what your anxiety kind of looks like. Are there physical symptoms that you feel? Do you get overheated? Do you get hot? Experience any panic attacks? Any type of like fidgeting? What does it kind of look like for you to have that anxiety?
It's a combination of a lot of things. It's overwhelming to talk about, of course, but physical symptoms, I've always like picked at my fingers or shook my leg, no matter if I'm sitting or standing. It's hard to just be still. And then I do have panic attacks. So they've gotten better as I've had my daughter. I've learned to kind of regulate them more, and I think she does help. Honestly, just her presence helps me stay calm. But I do have panic attacks where I lose my breath. I can't catch my breath. I feel like my chest is collapsing in on me is kind of what it feels like. So those are kind of some of the main symptoms that I do have, and I think the panic attack is probably the worst one.
Yes, that definitely sounds like a lot to handle and a lot to handle, with a 1-year-old being that new mom. So learning to be a mom and then having the struggles of the panic attack and the anxiety. So that definitely sounds like a lot to handle. Is there anything that you found that helps you when you get in those moods of panic or start to have anxiety? Is there like listening to music? Is there anything that kind of helps relieve that for you?
Music is a good thing, but I used to focus on working out. That used to be something that I love to do. Even just running. It sounds crazy. Who thinks running is fun? But that's something that I enjoyed before, and now it's just become hard to really do anything for myself. So I think I'm also struggling there too. That I just don't have time for me. So I've kind of neglected not only my physical self but my mental self as well.
And I also want to ask about your support system. What does that look like for you right now? Are you close with your family? Are you married? How is that situation right now for you?
So I am not married. I am with my daughter's dad. We might as well be married without the papers. We live together. I stay at home with her full time, and he supports us entirely. And I'm very grateful for him. Like I said, with my own parents, the relationship, it is a work in progress. Even as an adult now, I think it's just become harder because I think that I understand now being a mom. I question a lot of what has happened to me as a child and just kind of how I was brought up. So that's a hard thing to work through, and because you love your parents, but then now being a mom, I just wonder why those things happened to me, or why I was raised the way that I was raised. So those are things I'm struggling with, but I do have a good friend group as well, a lot of mom friends that I've been friends with for years. So that's a huge thing to have because a lot of understanding comes from those other moms and the moms that struggle with postpartum as well. So I would say that overall I do have a good support system, but I do feel like a burden. So a lot of the time I don't think I utilize it like I should.
So, I mean, I think it's good that you know that you at least have that good support system, and then just figuring out how to utilize them in the best way that will benefit you is something that we can definitely work on throughout our sessions. Tell me what your goal is throughout this session. Obviously, this is the very first session and we have plenty more to come, but tell me if at the end of all of this, what would you have liked to achieve or have gotten from these sessions?
I think that I would just like to feel at ease. I would like to know that it's okay to not have control of things in my life. I just want to learn how to live in the moment, learn how to appreciate who I have, what I have, and not be so constantly overwhelmed and worried about trying to control tomorrow or even like the next 2 to 3 hours in the day or trying to plan everything. And if that doesn't happen, not stressing myself to making myself like of course sick sometimes. So I just want to be present and learn how to appreciate what I have, instead of constantly worrying about a lot of the things that I really can't even control.
Well, here you have some good goals, and I just want you to know you definitely have some good strengths that we can use throughout these sessions to help you reach those goals. So I'm definitely looking forward to working with you, and I'm so excited that you took this leap and you came in to see me today. Do you have any questions for what things will look like moving forward?
I don't think so. I'm excited. I appreciate the way that you talk is very positive. So it gives me hope that I'm not alone and that we can work through this together. So thank you.
You're more than welcome. So I look forward to seeing you in our next session.
Thank you. Sounds good.
Thank you.
I think you both did a really good job.
Thank you.
Is yours a
Thank
true story? Is yours
That
a,
was,
no, you made it up?
no, it was true.
I think you covered everything, Carmen. all the important information you need, gathering the important information. You asked correct questions. They were easy questions. They weren't difficult questions. And you gave feedback as well as giving her, asking the questions. So the client knows you were listening to her.
Mhm.
So I felt that was good.
I agree.
It's important that clients know you're listening.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. All right. I
Now,
think
and
I'm the
Car-
client. I'm the client. Yes, I'm
Carmen,
the client. You're the counselor.
Observe. Okay,
Yes.
I'll observe.
are we taping?
Yeah, we're still recording. We've been recording this whole time.
Hi, Carmen. My name's Justina, and come on in my office. I'm happy to see you today.
Hi, it's very nice to meet you today.
On the couch, when you sit down, I have a clipboard, and on the clipboard, you'll find a face sheet on the top. And that's important that I get your personal information, which is your name, your address, date of birth, your birth date, your phone number, and your email. Your email is real important because when we schedule the appointments, you'll get through the email about 4 days before the appointment a reminder. Also, there's going to be a fee sheet there because I'm self-pay. So my wage, that it's $120 an hour, but the assessment is going to be $200. But also put your insurance information on there as well, because if I find out you're in network, then I can file some claims for you. Then there's going to be the HIPAA information that's very important, which is the confidentiality sheet. And on the confidentiality sheet, anything that is said in the office is between you and I, unless there's a reason that there needs to be a consent form signed and I have to release information. But most of the time, information is not released unless the courts order that. So I just want you to understand that what's in the office is stays in the office. Also, you're going to find another sheet there for your debit card to sign so that I can put that on your file and my biller can take the payments off. I do want you to know if you do a no-show, that's going to be a $50 fee and you need to call me 24 hours before you cancel your session. Is there any questions you have about the paperwork? I'll need that signed before we start.
No, I feel comfortable with going ahead and signing it right now.
Okay. Now today, what brought you in here to see a therapist? Why do you feel you need to see a therapist?
Well, I'm a school teacher. I teach third grade. And, lately I've just been feeling really hopeless and down, almost feeling a little bit depressed. I find it hard to prep for the days ahead of me. I can't do my lesson plans. I'm always behind. The kids, my irritation level with them has definitely increased. And I just feel crappy most days.
Why do you feel like that this just started? Is this a past history that you've been depressed before, or you've had these hopeless feelings, or is this something that just came here recently?
Well, when I was younger, I struggled with these feelings pretty frequently. I came from a pretty crappy family. Dad wasn't around, mom was on drugs. I basically just had to take care of my siblings. I got it done because I had to, but I'd go to bed at night feeling like, why am I even living? Like, am I just living to take care of my siblings and do my mom's job? But as I got older, I forgave my mom. I got into church. I forgave her, and I started to feel better. But recently, just things in my personal life have not been going well. I applied for grad school to get my admin license so that I could become a principal. And I got denied because my GPA was too low from my undergrad. And I just had a relationship that ended, and it just feels like everything is falling apart.
So do you feel like you overthink situations or you have racing thoughts, you're not able to focus on anything?
I feel like I overthink everything. Like I said, I'm a third grade teacher. So, one kid one day, he's telling me he doesn't like me because I'm making him do a spelling test. And to me, that equates in my mind as I'm a horrible teacher and I can't even work with these kids. So I don't even know if I want to teach anymore. I'm just trying to figure out where I want to go next in life and not feel like I can't accomplish anything because that's just how I feel 24/7 now.
Do you feel like that you never found your identity from from high school because you had to take care, you had to be a role player and you had to be the mom and take care of your siblings and handle everything in the household because your parents weren't taking on their responsibilities or their roles as a parent and teaching you the skills that you had to teach yourself. Do you feel like that maybe your identity, you never grasped that, you know?
I feel like what I thought my identity was to be a caretaker, which is why I went into teaching to, take care of the little kids and teach them, because that's essentially what I did my whole life with my younger siblings, was help them with their homework, cook them food, things like that while my mom was out and my dad wasn't at home. So I just kind of continued that into my adult life. But I've just reached a place, I'm in my late 30s now, where I just want to do something for me, and I don't want to have, the thoughts of I have to be taking care of somebody for me to have self-worth.
So is a school teacher the occupation you were looking into? Do you want to be a principal? Or is there some other dream that you had as a child and you felt like you couldn't perceive that dream because you were playing the role play of parent?
I'm not really sure. I think I want to be a principal, but that's another thing about my career path. I just feel like I don't really know. So I would like to just dig a little deeper and figure out what I really want to do for myself. I know it's not teaching. I just don't know what it is. The only reason I was going to get my admin license because it seems like the next step to do in the field that I'm in, unless you want to stay a teacher forever.
Right. So maybe we should start on talking about what things that interest you, what things that might, art or reading or writing or even, expand on that and decide whether teaching really is what you want to do. Does
Yeah,
that
I
sound
don't think
like
anyone has ever asked me what has interested me, and I don't think I've ever even taken the time to think about what really interests me. I've just been in this caretaker role, and it's been an easy way of living, and now it's not what I want to do. It's making me feel just really down, and I spend a lot of time at home by myself after work. Not I don't have very many friends, and I just don't want to live like this anymore.
yeah, it sounds like to me you were conditioned into that role. So maybe we need to really find out what it is that is you like to do and who you are and start with that at the beginning. What do you think? Do you think that's a good plan? A
Yeah,
good goal to start with?
I think that's a good way to start. I mean, that'll be a lot of thinking on my part because, like I said, I've never even taken the time to think about it because no one's ever asked me. But I'm definitely anxious and want to know more about myself, not just what I was conditioned to do.
I have a suggestion, and it seems like it's worked in the past with clients that had a identity crisis. Do you ever journal? Do you ever write things down in journal?
I used to journal all the time when I was home, with my siblings. When they would go to bed, I would take out a piece of paper and just kind of write about my day and things that frustrated me. And that kind of helped me get to the next day. As an adult, I just currently don't have the motivation. I go to work, I eat, I come home, I eat, and I go straight to bed. I might watch a TV show, but I just don't have that motivation to even pick up a pen and paper.
Well, if you have a notebook and you feel um, like buying a notebook or anything, usually if you start writing down what you did that day and you're reading it and you're looking at it and you're thinking, then you get a little bit more of who you are and what you expect out of yourself. So when you feel like it, maybe that's something you could start doing again.
Okay, would that be something that I could, bring into our next sessions just to kind of let you know what I came up with?
Absolutely. That would be a start to begin with what we can move forward with talking each time you come in, because you could open up your journal and start talking to me and telling me what you wrote down until our next session. So we could have weekly sessions if that sounds good to you. And then you have a week to write these things down and then go over them with me in the next session. And
Yeah,
it
that
probably
definitely
will
sounds
probably
like something I can get done.
be good. That's a start. If you're happy with that goal plan, then that's where we'll begin.
Yeah, I'm definitely satisfied and looking forward to just figuring things out and kind of changing my life around.
Okay, thank you for coming in today,
Thanks
Carmen.
so much. I appreciate your help.
Thank you.
You guys both did good. I'm gonna ask Carmen, was that real, Carmen?
No, I literally was just thinking about Abbott Elementary and was like, one of the teachers acts like this. So
You were talking so fast with it, like it rolled right off your tongue. So I just assumed that maybe it was something that you had experienced. But you guys both did a good job. I think honestly the questions were revolved right around everything that Carmen was saying. It was kind of probing her to think about starting from what she came in with, but then probing to like her identity and then going towards her goals of just even like something like journaling, which is a good tool to utilize for our clients. So I think the only thing that I would say, I just think some of the questions were super lengthy was the only thing. So it was just a lot of stuff for probably her to think about all at once to answer for just the initial session. But I think that was really the only thing because I think the rest of it was really good.
yeah, I think you did a good job too. I felt like I
Yeah.
was comfortable as a client.
Yeah. I think we
Good.
all did, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. I'm gonna stop recording now. Hold on.